Hey everybody, welcome to Southern Denver Living. Today we are going on a tour of one of the coolest neighborhoods in all of Denver. It is Sloan's Lake. This is a west side neighborhood. It's close to Berkeley, it's close to West Highlands, it's close to the mountains. It offers tons of cool amenities, restaurants, bars, cool things, and even a lake. But there is a dark side to this neighborhood.
Of course, we're not just here to sell you on the perfect idea of Sloan's Lake and everything fantastic has to offer, though it does have a lot of fantastic things. It does have a dark side, including a lake that is facing some problems and a $5 million project that is being proposed to try and help fix it.
We're Jake and Megan Friedel, your brother-sister realtor team and part-time tour guides to Southern Denver Living. Whether you're moving in 9 days or 900 days, we are here to help you strategize and find a plan to find the perfect neighborhood to call home here in Denver. So Sloan's Lake has a really interesting history of how it came about. Prior to 1860, the lake did not exist, but the farmer who owned the land was digging and accidentally hit an aquifer that filled up the whole lake.
Is that really the story you're about to go with right now, Jake? That is not even true. How does an aquifer overnight fill up a 290-acre lake?
Well, to be fair, like many of the best stories, it's not true. Or they can't prove it to be true, but hey, at least it's a fun story. And they don't have an actual story of how it happened, so that's the one I like to tell. So okay, maybe Sloan's Lake wasn't started by an aquifer, but whatever. Where are we in Denver right now? So like I said, we're west of I-25 on the west side of town, south of the Highlands. So we're close to so many cool things. Sloan's Lake sits wedged in between Federal Boulevard and Sheridan Boulevard on the east and west boundaries, and between Colfax and 29th on the north and south boundaries. So it's everything surrounding that lake. You go a little further north, you get into something they now call Slow High, which is really just kind of like the blending of the West Highlands and the Sloan's Lake neighborhood. But super cool. We've got close access to the light rail, close access to Colfax, which is the longest road in North America, easy access to Highway 6 to get to the mountains, and also pretty easy access to I-70 on the north side to go east and west as well.
So if you're not here in Sloan's Lake yet, or you just got here, you might be a little confused. When you're looking on a map, you're going to see the area titled Sloan Lake. I know the first few times that I helped people out of state buy here, they were calling it Sloan Lake, and I didn't even really understand why. I just thought it was kind of a funny thing that they were doing. And then I realized that, yeah, there are documents that are calling it Sloan Lake. Nobody here calls it that. Everybody's going to say Sloan's Lake. I'm not exactly sure where that started and why it happened, but if you call it Sloan Lake, everybody's going to know that you don't really live here. Let's talk about Sloan's Lake, though, because it's the key feature. I mean, this is really the neighborhood identity, is the lake itself. Similar to, if you're familiar with Wash Park, that really is that neighborhood identity, is being around the park. This has a really similar vibe with that, but even more unique because we don't have a lot of lakes here in Colorado. And that brings us to another important part. If you are coming from an area where you are familiar with and have a lot of lakes, you're going to be disappointed in what we are calling a lake. So yeah, Sloan's Lake is beautiful. It's really nice to walk around in, but it's, 290 acres. So it's not what you think of as a big lake if you're from a water area. But it's a great place to walk around, bike around, and do lots of activities around. The whole loop is a little over 2.5 miles. And you'll see people there every day in all kinds of weather, walking around the lake. Even today, it is quite windy, and we have quite a few people walking around because it's really just the heart of the neighborhood. And it has some dark sides to it. The lake itself has had problems forever, but they're getting worse and people are starting to complain more. The main problem with it is that it's not quite deep enough. So in the summer months when it gets really hot, it really bakes the whole lake. It causes fish to die and it causes a lot of algae growth. This causes visual aesthetic problems, and it also causes a smell that people who live here are used to experiencing about once a year. The lake used to be about 16 feet deep, and over time it's shrunk quite a bit to about a quarter of that. That, along with the fact that there's a lot of storm water and just kind of neighborhood runoff into the lake and not a constant flow in and out of the lake, are all contributing to these major problems. But I have two pieces of good news. One is that we really only see the height of these problems about once a year in the dead heat of the summer. And part of that is our summers are getting a little bit hotter. So that's why we're starting to see it a little bit more. The next positive part of that is that there is a big bond approval happening for a $5 million project where a lot of that money is going to go to helping these issues. They're going to be doing water filtration to improve water quality, reduce the sediment buildup, just kind of the overall long-term health of the lake. Stabilize the shoreline, adding some filtration, and in creating wetland areas to clean the runoff before it even gets to the lake in the first place. All this significant restoration work is going to improve the depth and reduce some of the issues that are coming with the shallower lake like we were talking about. And this large bond, I think, points to something really positive, and it's the faith that we have in this community, its longevity, and its growth. We're putting a lot of money into working on these problems because this is a really great area that people love to move in and has tremendous value to the Denver region.
But it's not just a big smelly lake that everyone runs around. I'm just kidding. It's only smelly once a year. But it's not just a big, beautiful lake people run around. It also has tons of events that happen throughout the year. There are races and community events, and there's the Dragon Boat Festival. Dragon Boat Festival is a big festival. It's usually 2 to 3 days every summer, and it expos all of the diverse Asian communities in the Denver area. They have dragon boat races across the lake. They have food vendors. They have 3 different performing arts stages. It's a pretty wild time. And which is why, also what's really cool is just down Federal is all of the best Asian foods in the community. So if you want to be close to authentic Asian food, you are right down the road. But the last piece to be concerned about is because of these ongoing Sloan's Lake issues, the Dragon Boat Festival is considering a new home. So we're hoping that this big project that has been approved is going to work and really revitalize the lake. There's also other cool music events like Jammin' on the Jetty, which is a free music festival. And there's the Sloan's Lake Art and Music Festival. There's the Fall Bazaar, which is a really cool outdoor market. And then there are tons of walks, community walks and around the park. And the famous Colfax Marathon takes a little stroll around Sloan's Lake. I can still remember when I ran the marathon years ago, coming into mile 19, running past Sloan's Lake. It was actually the first time I ever experienced Sloan's Lake, and I had this amazing view of the city and the lake. It was so cool. So beautiful events, lots of fun stuff to do all year long. And I almost forgot, sunset and sunrise yoga pops up around the park all throughout the summer.
And obviously, it's not just lake activities that's the drive for Sloan's Lake. There's also a hub of restaurants, breweries, coffee shops. And if you're looking for areas that specifically give you a view of the lake, then you've got to check out Rupert's, Odell Brewery, The Patio, and Joyride Brewing. They've all got really awesome lake views and good drinks. But then if you're just looking for some good food, US Thai, this is a little bit of a hole in the wall, but it's great food. Also, Shiso Sushi is a must-hit, and Ohana.
So there's all these cool little hubs around this neighborhood of neat little pockets of restaurants and bars and things. We mentioned a few of them that were on the west side overlooking the lake. And then there's a bunch of cool stuff kind of on the south side, closer to Colfax. Alamo Draft House is a really neat hub. It's way more than just a movie theater. It is that place that shushes you if you're talking during a movie, which is good for some people and bad for others. Guess which one I am. But anyway, there's also all sorts of community events there. Like I went to a drag queen bingo there one time. Great time. And there's a cool place called Side Pony for cocktails and coffees. But more importantly, if you get tired of the many options you have available to you for dining and drinking and having fun in Sloan's Lake, Sloan's Lake is just located next to so many cool things. You're a few minutes away from West Highland and all the restaurants there. You're even 7 minutes away from Berkeley and Tennyson Street. And then you're just a few minutes away from the Highlands. So really, it's just kind of an insanely cool part of town. This little northwest section of Denver is the best hub for some of the best restaurants and best eating in all of the town. And if you exhaust all of that, You're only like 12 minutes from downtown and maybe 15 from the River North Arts District. Oh my gosh, and I forgot the Edgewater Public Market. How could I forget? There's only a billion things around here to do. But just on the other side of Sheridan, there's the Edgewater Public Market. It's one of those giant kind of industrial buildings. They turned into a bunch of restaurants inside. Edgewater is almost like part of Sloan's Lake. Some people who live over there might identify with that. Just give it to them. They're close enough, and they add a lot more cool stuff for you to do when you live in Sloan's Lake. Sloan's Lake is actually one of the most architecturally diverse neighborhoods in all of Denver, in my opinion. So we've got, starting in the early 1900s, we had a lot of the bungalows and the Denver squares and the Victorian homes. And then in the 1920s and 1930s, we had some Mediterranean revival and some Tudor styles coming in, which are very prominent in Sloan's. And then we've got this mid-century modern era where we have these mid-century ranches, which are, one-level homes with just like the flatter style roofs and more windows along the top. They're really cool constructed. If you don't know what that is, you probably already love it. And then there's kind of a more modern wave. New constructions have come in, more townhomes, some slot style homes, which are like row homes, oftentimes with a little rooftop patio, luxury condos and like lake style homes. Oh, our little free library of the neighborhood is here. And look how cute this one is. This is maybe the coolest little free library we've seen with the little caterpillar. Although nothing super exciting in here. I mean, we've got Maui revealed, so you've got some folks who like to go traveling and lots of kids books here. But yeah, I'd live in this neighborhood. So it's amazing how many different architectural styles you can have on one block here. You have like 5 different styles or more. And I love that. It's like the anti-suburb for sure.
So let's talk a bit about what a typical home is looking like in Sloan's Lake. So if you're looking at a single family home, that's typically a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom with a median of 1,550 above ground square footage with a little basement to bring it just above 2,000 square feet. Sold price of just under $900,000, and the median build year was 1943 on the single family's homes. And if you're looking into a townhome or a condo, anything that's an attached style home, that median changes a little bit. You're still looking at a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom with 1,623 for the above ground square footage. So actually a little bit bigger on that above ground square footage, but smaller on the basements or no basements at all, bringing them just over 1,700 square feet. The median sold price for these was $740,000, and the build year way newer, 2016.
Yeah, so for a lot of those newer townhomes, you're looking at the slot home style homes, which is like 4 or 5 homes all built together in a row, sometimes with that little rooftop patio. But you can also, let's talk about our lower end and what it takes to get into this neighborhood. You can get into this neighborhood in a condo for in the $500,000 to $600,000 range. You can get into this neighborhood for a single family home in the $700,000 to $900,000 range. You're just looking at some older construction, probably some dated homes, maybe that don't have as open of a layout. And if you're looking at the upper crust, you're looking at a much bigger home. You're looking at that 3,500 to 6,000 square feet, depending on some of the features, between $1.8 and $3 million or even higher. That gets you new construction, open floor to plans, maybe some rooftop decks, and oftentimes lake and mountain views, and a little more proximity to the lake. So here we are, like half a block from Sloan's Lake, and oh look, I recognize this house. Let's head on in, see what we've got. So these are our friends Jack and Kata. We helped them move to the Sloan's Lake neighborhood last year.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
It's on time to go.
Time flies by. Cool. They're nice enough to sit down with us today, tell us a little insider scoop about what it's like to live here. So what is your favorite thing about living in this neighborhood?
Favorite thing? Well, we've been here about 9 months now, so we've gotten to see 3 seasons out of 4. And each of those 3 seasons has, even like within the season, has been really spectacular. Like it keeps changing. Right now, because it's early spring, we kind of just got finished with all the crab apples being in bloom. And so it's just gorgeous. We have dogs, we walk around. Yeah, it's just every time we go outside, it feels like there's a lot of life and a lot of activity, like what you get with the city, but also a lot of life and a lot of activity in terms of what you get from nature. So it's kind of just, it's pretty perfect.
Nice. How about you, Keppa?
Yeah, I think I love, honestly, all of our neighbors. There's a lot of like-minded people that live in this little area because I think it attracts people who like the urban living, like want to be close to the city, but also want that like slightly more natural vibe with the lake. And so everyone that we live around, which was kind of luck, we didn't know when we moved in, everyone that we've met, we hang out, our dogs all know each other and they'll play fetch in someone's yard. And it's just a lot of really great people that I think are attracted to, if you're looking for similar things, you end up moving to a place with people that you like, which is really cool.
Awesome. You guys ran into your old neighbors who've stayed in the area and you're now kind of friends with them, right?
So actually, you mean the folks who were here before?
Yeah. Sorry, not your old neighbors.
You ran into them, and so we were actually out with our current neighbors. We went out to a coffee shop down the street, and we all walked in, and they were like, those are the people who used to own your house. And so we introduced ourselves because we actually hadn't met them during the process. They were super nice, and the guy in particular, he was like, we want to go back to the area. So they went out to Lakewood, but apparently now they have at least some desire to come back.
Do you have any kind of insider tips that people can't figure out if they're if they're cruising Reddit trying to find out about Sloan's Lake? What are some cool insider tips you've learned since being here?
The restaurant right over there, Gusto, is really good. But it's just really freaking good. I mean, I guess you could probably gather that on Reddit, but it's really good.
Lives up to the hype.
I think, you were saying Reddit and I was thinking Redfin, but I think when you're looking at houses and the postings, oftentimes you can't really tell until you go see it. So I think just go see the houses and then walk around, go for a walk around the lake, and it's really easy to fall in love with the actual reality of the place.
Okay, other than Gusto, what are your favorite spots around the lake?
Our dog has a favorite spot. So Blizzard loves the patio. It's a bar that's one block down from Gusto and just a sports bar, but they always seem to have a hopping crowd, and they have music sometimes when it's on our walk route that we take with our dogs. So every time we go over there, he pulls us in and he wants to go. They serve these bark bowls for dogs, and they have a dog friendly patio. So that's Blizzard's favorite spot. I love Gusto. What else? Oh, the Edgewater Public Market is also really good. It's a food hall. It's got all sorts of really awesome options. They have delicious ice cream, and yeah, it's a fun, funky spot.
And all of those are businesses, but also there are a few really amazing spots around the lake. So we love, if sort of from our house, you sort of head towards the city, there's this little tiny bridge that's right at the corner of the lake. And we go and we take pictures as, again, like I was saying earlier, as the seasons change, we have pictures from that exact spot because it is this perfect panorama of the lake and the clouds with the mountains behind it. And so we've got probably 15 or 20 pictures right from that one spot. And they're just always spectacular. So taking a moment to stop there, it's a great spot around the lake.
Nice. And now we got to cover the hot gossip, the problems with the lake. How much do folks around here talk about that? About the issues with it smelling bad and it's getting shallower, all these problems? What do you hear about?
So right now is the first time that I have heard about it smelling bad. I have not smelled it, and you are the first person who has told me that.
See, Reddit's wrong again on this one.
I've never noticed it smelling. I've definitely seen on social media people talk about it getting shallower and stuff. Because we don't swim in it, it's not something that I really can confirm. I think there is work being done to help revitalize it. So I think that that's a really great thing. It's not something that I lie awake at night thinking about.
Awesome. Well, it's kind of a disappointment on the gossip standpoint, but a huge relief if you're thinking about Sloan's Lake, that this big thing that's going on the internet is maybe not as big of a deal as you think. And we have to have a little bit of shameless self-promotion here, but could you guys talk a little bit about what it was like to work with us to find your home?
Yes, I loved working with Jake and Megan. I feel like they really understand the millennial buyer, and it's something where, buying a house is such a process and such a journey. There's a lot of little emotional, psychological hangups that you find yourself in, especially, trolling the internet late at night looking at postings. And I really felt like I could bring those concerns to Jake, and that he was really good at listening and helping us talk through a lot of those things so that we could figure out and eventually focus on what was really important to us and what we really wanted.
Yeah, everything Kata said. And I felt like I really appreciated your patience. When we were going through this process, it was post-COVID. And at first, we really did not know what we wanted. Like, I cannot overstate how little we knew what we wanted. We saw so many different things, and we kept messaging Jake and saying, now actually let's look at the exact opposite thing of what we went out and looked at last week. And you were incredibly patient with us. You rolled with it, and you also kept up with as our thinking was evolving. And that was really, really important. And I'd also say that when we went through this process with you, we were also selling our previous place. And the complexity of kind of orchestrating both of those things together, like even one of those things felt kind of overwhelming. And so I really do think that feeling like, we had your expertise and being, just really solid and there for us was part of what gave us the confidence to actually be able to go ahead and do this whole thing. Because it was intense, and I frankly don't know what we would have done if we didn't have someone that we really trusted.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was just so generous. Can you tell us about the house that you didn't buy on Mead Street?
Yes, there was a house that we found and made an offer on, and we were really excited about. We were getting close to Sloan's Lake, which was where we ultimately ended up. And we found out from the inspection, so it's really important, always do the inspection, that the basement was basically like crumbling, and it was scary. And we went down there and saw it for ourselves, and we ended up pulling out because we didn't want to deal with something such a huge just repair that would need to happen. The amount of time and money, we felt like we were not up for that. And so I really appreciated the honesty of Jake and also the inspector who found that and let us know before we bought that and found out later.
So if you've watched our video about changes coming to Denver, then you know that ADUs became a lot more accessible for Denverites this past year. Along with that, we're seeing an increase in ADUs built in the Sloan's Lake area. And this does have an impact on people who already live here. It's a pro and a con. First, it enables people to generate more income. It can help you pay for half of your mortgage or even more. You could rent it out part-time, you could rent it out full-time, and it could really supplement that mortgage payment for you. The con of it is that you don't really have control of when and where an ADU is going to be built. So if you buy a multi-million-dollar home with a gorgeous view and someone builds an ADU right in front of that view, it can be a little bit problematic here. One thing you may have found in your research about Sloan's Lake or a lot of the neighborhoods right around this area is that the areas have seen a bit of a decline in appreciation and have depreciated over the last couple years. That may sound really scary, and it may make you feel like these areas are not good investments for real estate. I would have to say I very much disagree with that sentiment. The areas right around Denver did get hit a little bit after we had a really crazy time after the pandemic. We saw a lot of really strong bid ups in that time and some pretty unnatural growth. Since then, we've seen a bit of stabilization in that. And for some areas, that has meant a little bit of depreciation. We are already starting to see a pretty strong bounce back from that. And in addition, we really think that appreciation is going to continue to grow. The luxury market specifically in this area didn't really even see much of a downturn, and homes that are already move-in ready, turnkey, have been selling fantastically. One of the reasons we expect this strength in the market in this area is its geographical location. Yes, of course, you've got the amenity of the lake. You've also got that proximity to all of the locations we talked about, including downtown Denver. You also have that really easy access to the mountains. And everybody knows that on the west side of Denver, you just tend to have really good, strong values because people want both proximity to things like shopping, dining, restaurants, and easy access to hiking and skiing, which is why a lot of you guys are moving here in the first place.
So right now we're recording this in spring of 2026, and it has been a hot spring for this neighborhood. There's a lot of neighborhoods around the Denver area where things have been more neutral, but because of the walkability, the accessibility to grocery stores, that you can just walk to all your daily conveniences, the refill shops, all the cool modern things that people need are so accessible right here. And because of those things, this neighborhood is going to stay strong in down markets, and it's going to appreciate like crazy in hot markets, because we have seen this neighborhood be way more competitive than most other neighborhoods around the Denver metropolitan area. Okay, that's it. That's a wrap. That is absolutely everything you could ever want to know about living in Sloan's Lake.
Okay, that's not everything that you need to know. No video is a real replacement for getting in the car with us, touring around the neighborhoods, getting on the phone with us, asking us your questions. As you see, there's a lot of things that maybe seem like one way on paper, and then you get in the neighborhood, you ask the locals, you really get to see things and you realize they're maybe not so true. So we are excited to hear from you. Real estate is what we do for our full-time jobs. Being your tour guide is just what we do for fun part-time.
That's right. So please let us know when you're ready to move to this awesome neighborhood. We'll take a tour around, we'll grab a cocktail at Rupert's, and we'll talk about the best place for you. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.